Morning again. Just another little video clip here on our coffee chat meeting from last night. This time we talked about genie power. Genie being the old mythological character of Arabian origin, I believe, who was made famous in many different stories throughout the ages, and especially lately in the Hollywood film Aladdin. You might remember the genie in the lamp, right? Well, I'm going to tell a little story here I come up with. My daughter Carissa and I were currently putting together a book, and this will be part of the opening of the book. Once upon a time, I haven't used that in a story a long time, but hey, what the heck, it's fitting with the genie, I think. Once upon a time, there was a guy named John, and he found an old lamp. He rubbed the lamp, and whew, out came this big, happy genie. A very friendly genie, a very understanding genie. And of course the genie said, John, any wish that you have, I will grant. I'll give you one wish. And of course, being an understanding genie, he says to John, well, take your time. No rush. I'll give you a couple hours to think about it. And at that moment, the genie went back into the lamp. And John was stunned. He only had a couple of hours. The biggest decision in his life had to be made in that quick of a time. So he set to work. A very methodical guy he was, this John. He began to write out things, ideas, where he might want to go with this. He wrote down things like family, things that were important to him. Mother Earth, his health, his work, things to do with wealth. And he found that every time he started to go on a certain idea, he'd have desires build up within him. And then other desires would come, so it would have him go in another direction. And he was all over the place. Finally, he got to thinking, well, I should have asked the genie a clarification question here. Does this thing have to be specific, or can I ask for everything in general? So he snapped his finger, and out came the genie again. He didn't rub the lamp this time, he snapped it, you see. And he said to the genie, Genie, can I have a timeout on the clock here for a moment? I don't want to say something and you turn me into a frog or some sort of a character that I don't want to be. Relax, John, said the genie. I'm an understanding kind of guy, remember. All right, Genie, then. When I ask you for a wish, does it have to be specific? Or can it be everything in general? Oh, said the genie. We genies like our wishes to be specific, clearly understood, and in one sentence. We like specifics. With that, the genie said, John, you have 10 more minutes. You've been at this for a while. You've got 10 more minutes, and I want you to ask me your wish. With this, the genie went back into his lamp. Wow. John started to scratch his hair. 10 minutes to come up with something specific that I want? The biggest decision in my life? Well, once again, being the methodical kind of guy that he is, he broke down Genie's answer to 3 points. Specific, clearly understood, one brief sentence. And with this, he did his best to begin to rationalize what a genie would clearly understand. He wrote down everything he could. Things like life, little vague, mind you. Happiness, genies understand that. He always seems to have a smile. The universe, rather vague though. Magic, John liked magic. That's an interesting thing. Wishes. Well, that was the whole point of it, wasn't it? To get wishes. The genie understands people, probably, because he grants people wishes. With this whole process, John's mind was ticking like a granny clock on steroids. Things were flowing to him. But wait a minute, though. He got to one word. Himself. not in reference to himself, but the genie himself. John got to thinking, the genie would understand himself better than anything else. He spends most of his time in that lamp with himself, supposedly. And the genie would understand that very well. His mind stopped ticking so fast as he realized, maybe the genie could grant me his power to grant wishes, especially to myself. But he didn't want to be the genie himself. John liked being himself. He just wanted a certain aspect of the genie. Bam! That idea hit him like a ton of bricks when he finally realized what he wanted was the genie's power. How about that? And he summarized it by saying, Genie, I would like to have your power to grant myself wishes. See, he thought this would be specific. He thought it would be clearly understood to the genie for sure. And he thought it was in one brief sentence. At that moment, the genie reappeared. And he said to John, are you ready? And John said, yes, Genie, I sure am. I'm all ears, said the genie. So John replied, Genie, I want your power to grant myself wishes. With this, the genie's facial expressions completely changed to an expression of bewilderment. Never in eternity had anybody ever asked him for such a wish. They'd always asked for things like a new house, the love of their life, good health, long life, but never for the genie's power. And the genie asked John, well, where does this leave me? A powerless genie? Oh no, says John. Isn't it possible, you being a genie after all, that we can both have genie power? Genie's face lit up again. He said to John, finally, somebody who sort of understands me. And you see, John, because you asked a question for a wish that was specific, that I clearly understand, and is in one brief sentence, I must grant it to you, but I grant it on one condition. You use this great power for the betterment of yourself and all of your brothers and sisters in humanity. With this, the genie was gone again. And from that day forward, everything John set out to do, he achieved. Now, some years later, in a quiet time, the genie reappeared to John, and he asked him, how has your life been with your genie power? And John replied, Genie, it couldn't be better, really. I have everything I've ever wanted. Except, with all this time on my hands, I get to thinking sometimes, how is it that you could grant me this power? And how does this power work? Well, the genie chuckled as he realized, and he said, John, of all people, I can tell you now because you're ready. You see, John, of all the things you could have asked me in life, you asked for the one thing that I couldn't grant you. You know why? Because you already had it. And so do all your brothers and sisters in humanity. It's just that you were ignorant of it. When I granted it to you, it was as though it was something new to you, but it already existed within you. You see, you believed me because I am the genie, and therefore you felt that power. And as for how it works, my John, you human beings make this life out to be more complicated than it actually is. You see, years ago, in reference to physics, a brother of yours named Sir Isaac Newton discovered this principle in what he called a law of equal and opposite reaction. For every force in action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And it's really as simple almost as simple as 1 plus 1 equaling 2. It worked kind of like this. You, John, like all your brothers and sisters in humanity, had desires, many desires. You visualized them, you dreamed of them. You found me, and you asked for a wish. Your wish was to have my power. I gave you only my words. I grant you this wish. Because you believed them, because I was a genie, you felt that power, but that power was already there. And as an equal and opposite reaction, you went forward with that power, and all of your actions were purposeful in getting what you wanted, and with complete faith that your results were like a done deal, and therefore you achieved everything. You see, John, many people in life, many of your brothers and sisters in life, don't realize they have this power, and therefore as an equal and opposite reaction, they feel powerless in many cases. You understand this now, so you can teach your brothers and sisters in humanity and be a good example for them. With this, the genie tipped his turban. He said to John, though it may appear that I go back into this lamp and I'm gone, you know now that I am always with you. Talk to you again in another video.